over the world. I think we have close to 10,000 people who signed up to be here together. So thank you all so much. I can see you. I can see all your comments. This is so exciting. From Boston, my entire family from Boston just arrived to visit us for Thanksgiving last night. So hi, Boston. We've got Vancouver. We've got Sweden. My niece lives in Sweden. From Minnesota, from Israel. Wonderful. From Istanbul. Oh, it's going so fast. You're all really fast typists. I love it. Argentina, Las Vegas, Germany, Walla Walla, France. Oh, this is amazing. Belgium, the UK, Scotland, Peru. Oh, wow, this is really just such a beautiful celebration. So my name is Liz Dawn. And the joke is that, yes, I started when I was 10, right? It is such a pleasure for all of us to be here. And what's so thrilling is that we can all be from all over the globe. So someone said you don't see anything in the chat, just click your chat button and make sure you've got everyone selected and you'll be able to see everyone in the chat. And yes, there will be a replay. And the replay link, we decided because we got so many questions about should there be a replay? And we said, okay, we decided we're going to do a replay. We're going to record this. We're also live on YouTube right now at the same time as being live here in Zoom. So today, this is really thrilling because we have four of who I think are some of the greatest spiritual luminaries of our time brought here together today to offer you a sort of a viewpoint of how to get through challenging times and turbulent times in our lives. So without further ado, I am going to introduce each speaker, and let's hope that I can do my share screen really well. And first up we have is Gregg Braden. And Gregg Braden is a 5-time New York Times best-selling author. He's a scientist, an educator, and a pioneer in the emerging paradigm, bridging science, spirituality, social policy, and human potential. Gregg's work has led to 15 film credits, 12 award-winning books, and now published in over 40 languages. So today we've got Gregg Braden with us. We also have the amazing Anita Moorjani. And Anita really has a remarkable story. She is the New York Times bestselling author of Dying to Be Me and her latest book, What If This Is Heaven, and also Sensitive is the New Strong. And Anita will be sharing about her near-death experience and her story as we go through our online event today. And Anita was the protege of the late and great Dr. Wayne Dyer. And that's how I met Anita. Wayne Dyer called me and said, with his beautiful booming voice, he said, Liz Dawn, you've got to meet Anita Moorjani. And it was love at first sight. Her work is absolutely amazing. It's transformative. It helps people to get into their heart space and really realize there's something else in the world going on besides these physical bodies. And next we have Dr. Bruce Lipton. And Bruce is an internationally recognized leader in bridging science and spirit. He is a stem cell biologist. He is the best-selling author of The Biology of Belief and the recipient of the 2009 Gua Peace Award. He's been a guest speaker at thousands of conferences, including Celebrate Your Life conference for many years. And it is such a joy to have Bruce with us here today. Then we have the wonderful Dr. Shamini Jain, and she is a psychologist, a scientist, a singer, and healing empowerment teacher. And some of the things that Shamini does with something called psychoneuroimmunology, will just change your life. She is the founder and CEO of the Consciousness and Healing Initiative, otherwise known as CHI, CHI. And she is a nonprofit collaborator accelerator that connects scientists, health practitioners, educators, and artists to help lead humanity to heal ourselves. She's the best-selling author of the book, Healing Ourselves, Biofield Science and the Future of Health. And so without further ado, I am so thrilled to share our amazing, amazing speakers. So if you'd like to unmute yourselves and show your beautiful faces. There we are.
Hi.
You guys can say hi.
Hi,
everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, it's good to see everyone.
We are so happy you're here because we have some very empowering information to share with you because of the interesting times we're experiencing.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to take a moment before we begin. I know we're going to cover a lot of material. Just want to thank everyone for sharing a little bit of your day or your afternoon or your evening with us. It means a lot to us. And, Bruce and I have been talking in our travels, and Anita and Shamini and Liz. It's a wild world out there. And we wanted to offer something today that could help you to navigate that wild world and make healthy choices and to do it in a really good way. So Liz, Dawn, thank you for organizing this with your magnificent staff behind the scenes that we can't see today. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the crazy detail person that likes to put parties together. So here we are having an online live event party. Yes.
Yeah.
And I am seeing all of your comments in the chats, and it's wonderful. And I don't know that the speakers can, because we're keeping them focused today on teaching all of their wonderful teachings. Okay, so Greg, I'm going to start with you. I've got a whole list of questions for each one of you. And Greg, I'm going to start with you. You ready?
I think I'm ready. Should I sit down? This sounds big. I better sit down.
So can you share with all of us today, what is the science behind resilience? How can understanding it help us to navigate life's challenges more effectively?
Liz, it's a beautiful place to begin. We are all being pushed to the very edge of the way we define ourselves, testing our resilience every day in the world, in that wild world that's out there. It's a big topic, and I don't know that I can do justice to it in the brief time that we have here, but I'm going to do the best I can. When I was a kid growing up in the 1950s and 1960s in the Midwest of this big, beautiful country of ours, resilience meant something very different then than it means today. In those days, resilience meant if you had a bad day, suck it up and get over it. I mean, literally. And people would say that, just get over it. Well, we've come a long way since then, Liz, and there's an organization, a scientific organization in Stockholm. It's called the Stockholm Resilience Institute. And they have taken the ideas of resilience and the science of resilience to levels that we've never seen before, with something that is now called adaptive resilience. So adaptive resilience, the old way of thinking of resilience is you're kind of chugging along in life and something unexpected happens and it throws you for a loop and then you try to get back on course. That's the old idea. Adaptive resilience means you've got your radar up, you're looking at the world and you're saying, hey, this is not the same world that I have known in the past. And so you are making incremental shifts all along the way. But here's the key. Those shifts cover 5 domains of human experience. So let me identify those domains. When we talk about resilience, of course, physiological resilience, that's our body, nutrition, exercise, sleep, all of those things. Bruce and I have just come back from presenting in Europe. I had a 30-hour flight, so I'm still searching for my sleep. but that is an important part of resilience. The physiological part, and I think we're pretty familiar with that. But then there's psychological resilience. That's separate than physiological resilience. And then there is emotional resilience. There is mental resilience. and there is spiritual resilience. So to be truly resilient in our lives so that we can be the best version of ourselves and be present for those that we love and care about and our friends and neighbors and our families, we've got to cover all of these domains. Well, in just this brief time that we've got here today, Liz, what I'm going to zero in on spiritual resilience, because I think all of us are being tested spiritually right now. And I know that means different things to different people. Spiritual resilience it begins with the way that we think of ourselves, our relationship to the world around us, our relationship to other people, our relationship to our own bodies, our relationship to the cosmos, to a higher power, our relationship to time, to the past, to the future. All of those are part of our spiritual resilience. And what I find so interesting about this is one of those beautiful places where science and spirituality come together. They cross the traditional boundaries that have separated science and spirituality in the past. So the best wisdom of our most ancient and cherished spiritual traditions have offered techniques. Now, the science is telling us why those techniques work. And I know Bruce is going to talk about some of this as well on the cellular level. So when we talk about resilience, now I'm going to use a word and then I'll define this word. When we talk about spiritual resilience, what we're really talking about is our divinity. And for some people, that word means religion. And I can see why it would, because there are schools of divinity teaching religious traditions. But this is fascinating to me, Liz. If you look up the definition of divinity, it simply says the ability to transcend perceived limitations. And that's it. Now think about this. First, it's the ability to transcend. So we're not fighting against anything. We're becoming more than the conditions that were being shown in the world. Transcend perceived. The perceived conditions, the conditions that we and limitations that we place upon ourselves. They may not even be real, but we perceive them as real through our programming and our filters from relationships and from education and childhood. So divinity is our ability to be the best version of ourselves, to create the best world possible. Now, people say, well, give us some examples. What does that mean? I think many people know I'm a musician when I'm not doing this, and I had the opportunity to go to the Grammys a few years ago and speak with some of the musicians that were, up for the awards. And so I did a little experiment, the scientist that I am, and I wanted to ask these musicians, I said, when you wrote that amazing piece of music, or you wrote the lyrics to that magnificent song, I said, where did the music come from? Where did those lyrics come from? And to a T, every single one of those musicians that I asked, they all gave me the same answer. They said, it didn't come from me, it came through me. Our divinity is a part of us that is timeless, it is ageless, it's not contained in our bodies. We can't be separated from it. You can never be separated from it. This is where our deep intuition comes from, our direct knowing. These are the things that help us to navigate the world in a healthy way. So we cannot be separated, but we can deny our own divinity because we have free will. And I see people do this all the time. They believe that they are powerless victims of the world around them and that the world is their adversary. And you will see people going through life blaming everyone else for those things. That's one way to veil our divinity. Another way is our divinity can be programmed out of us through society. The teachings, the way our parents help us to think of ourselves, Liz, and the way our friends and our family and our society and our culture and our nation and our planet and our science and whatever the religious teachings are, they can program us right out of our own divinity. And the last one, and this is up for everybody right now, technology can veil our relationship to our divinity. When we turn to the tools that have been made available to us and use them as crutches, then we are becoming enslaved by the technology. And there's a whole conversation that we can have about that. Technology is not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's how we apply it. And we apply it based on our story, the way we have been taught to think of ourselves. So all of these are up for us right now. We are living in a time, and both Bruce and I have been traveling internationally. Well, and Anita has as well. I think we've all been traveling internationally. So what I'm saying is true for our global family. It's not just America, or it's not just Europe, or it's not just Texas. It is the whole world that is experiencing this. So I want to offer a really, really powerful tool. Your divinity. How do you know when your divinity is being tested? And I'm going to give you a little litmus test. When you are inundated with information in social media that triggers a feeling inside of you or a response that betrays your truest nature, when you become something that you are not in the presence of the information that has come to you, that is a very clear sign that you are giving away your divinity to something else. So we all know there's a battle of good and evil playing out in the world. That's no secret. It's been going on for, since the beginning of time. Every once in a while, that battle raises its head in more apparent ways, and we're seeing that. And so when we allow ourselves to be divided as families and divided as communities and societies and nations through misinformation and disinformation, that's us giving away our divinity. So I'm going to invite people, I'm going to stop here in just a minute, but I want people to be aware that it's not so much about how we respond to what's happening. It's more about what we become in our response. What does that response make us into? We're all going to get through this time. We're going to get through it. The key is on spiritual resilience. For spiritual resilience, do we get through it in a healthy way by awakening the best version of ourselves, or do we succumb to the lowest common denominator and the primal response that is being triggered intentionally through the media that wants to divide us? And I think this is up for everybody right now, Liz. And I just want people to just go through your day. Every moment of every day, we choose to either affirm or deny life in our bodies through the way we think, the way we address one another, the way we allow other people to address us, how we nourish our bodies, what we do, the information that we take in. So here's the homework for everybody right now. Check the information, check the information that's coming to you and that you allow to come into your life, and ask yourself, am I choosing life? Is this the best, the highest form of food and nutrition that I can have? Is this the highest response that I have to the person or the people that are triggering me, to my family members who are having deep conversations and very different ideas? All of these are facets of spiritual resilience. You hear a lot about all the other resilience. You don't often hear about spiritual resilience. And that's why I wanted to bring this up and talk about it. Does that make sense what I said, Liz?
Oh, like 200 million%. And I think you can all agree. And I know some of you are in either the panelist chat by accident or in the entire, everyone chat, but somehow we have a little oops here. But what I would love to see is, can you all relate to that about how these things, and Greg, I love that you said social media, how it just completely throws us off our axis, how looking at social media, how doing all these things really throws us off of our divinity, off of our truest expressions of who we are. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I just
saying
want,
yes.
I want to clarify that, because like I said, we're all going to get through it, but I've got friends, and some of them are authors and speakers. Everyone here knows, some of it's family, that have become something in their hearts that I don't even recognize in response to what they believe is happening in the world on many, many different levels, and all the wars going on, and there's so much happening right now. What have we become? What does it do to us? Because, and I believe Anita will talk about this, on our last day here, our last breath, when we leave this world, What is it that we've become from within? And that is the workshop of life I think we're all experiencing right now.
Beautiful. And it's so accurate. I think everyone is saying, yes, I can relate. Linda's is saying it's soul robbing. And by the way, so I have no idea why everybody's in hosts and panelists, but you're on the inside, a secret inside panelist chat. I don't know how that happened. I apologize. But we can all see it. That's okay. No option for everyone. Everyone is in the host and panelists, okay? In the chat. So yeah, that's okay. I don't know how to fix it, and I'm not going to try and fix it because it looks like you can all chat with the hosts and panelists in there, which is great. Thank you so much, Greg. That was really beautiful and certainly helped me to kind of land in that place of doing those things that are more honoring for my soul and that don't like throw me off my center. So thank you. Okay, so Anita, I am now going to jump to you. And I have a question for you. And everyone is thanking you, Greg. Everyone is saying, that's okay, Marilyn. I can see your chat. I can see all the chats, you guys. And everyone's saying, thank you, Greg. Beautiful reminder. Thank you. It's just perfect for the holidays. So thank you so much, Greg. All right. So Anita, Miss Anita, I have a question for you. Could you share how your near-death experience unveiled the profound connection between consciousness and how it's changed your perception of the world and your approach to life? I know that's a big question.
Wow, but I love that question. What a well thought out question. And first, before I dive in, I just want to say thank you, Liz, because I know that you mentioned you introduced yourself to the audience by saying that you organize these events, you organize big parties. I just want to say you organize the best parties and the best events. And if anyone hasn't had a chance to go to a Celebrate Your Life event, you must at least once, whether it's the next upcoming event or a future event, you have to experience one of Liz Dawn's events. I just wanted to say that. And thank you to everyone, the audience, for being here. And what a great panel. I am so honored to be among scientists, because what I love is that they put the science behind what I'm about to share, which is a personal experience. But even though it's a personal experience, it's one that has changed my life so drastically, dramatically, and profoundly that I'm on a mission to share what happened to me, because I don't think people need to go through a near-death experience to learn what I learned. It's not necessary, and I don't recommend it. So that's what drives me to share what I share. And just real quick, for the people who don't know my background and what my story is, or what it is that informs my thinking, I had end-stage cancer. It was lymphoma that had metastasized. I had tumors the size of golf balls throughout my lymphatic system, which means throughout my body, from the base of my skull, all around my neck, under my arms, in my chest, all the way down to my abdomen. And I reached a point where it had progressed over a period of 4 years, where my body stopped absorbing nutrition. I weighed about 85 pounds. I had fluid in my lungs. I couldn't lie flat because I would choke on my own fluid. I looked like a skeleton, and I couldn't even hold my head up. I was so weak because my body wasn't absorbing nutrition. I couldn't walk. I couldn't even hold my head up. My head would be hanging down on my neck. And I was in so much pain and discomfort because I couldn't sleep through the night because of the fluid in my lungs. And so I reached a point where I went into a coma, where my organs started to shut down. And the doctors told my family that these were my final hours, that I was not going to come out of the coma, and my body was already shutting down, my organs were shutting down, and I was going through the dying process. But unbeknownst to everybody around me, I had left my body, and I had the most beautiful and amazing and freeing experience that I've ever experienced. And the short story is that I was in the coma for about 30 hours. I understood completely why I had been sick, why my body was suffering, why my life had been one of pain. And I emerged from the coma 30 hours later. And within 3 weeks, the doctors could find no trace of cancer in my body. I just had to build up my body physically and eat nutritious food and get strong and build up strength in my legs and so on, which took just a couple of months. But that was in 2006. And here I am 17 years later, still sharing my story and telling people about what I learned in the other realm. And it was, for me, I understood what happened. I understood why I healed. And I feel that there are things that people need to know, which is still not mainstream, which I wish was mainstream, which is why I keep sharing. And one of the first things that I want to share that I learned while I was on the other realm is that most of our diseases are not medical conditions, but they are spiritual conditions. And when I was in that realm, when I realized that, that was a huge awakening for me. It's a case of our spirit, our soul, coming here for a purpose, an intention. And when we squash who we are meant to be, and we compress it and squash it, because I was always a people pleaser. I was always afraid of disappointing people to the point of becoming a doormat. And I never allowed my soul or my spirit to be and to shine in the way it wanted to be. So, and so when we manifest, or when there is disease in our bodies, there's usually a reason behind it, whether it's because we are tired from life and are looking for a way out, so our body creates it for us, whether it's because we have built up trauma that we've never healed, that has accumulated through our lives, or whether it's because we've really repressed who our spirit came here to be. You know, there's many reasons, but all of them are basically what I call spiritual or emotional reasons, which we don't spend enough time uncovering those reasons, because those are usually the real reasons behind our illnesses and our healing. And so this is why I say that most diseases in our body are not medical conditions, but spiritual conditions. The second thing that I want to say that I really discovered, which helps me to live my life in the way I do, is that each and every one of us, we are a spiritual being. And I just want to say here that what Greg said earlier is beautiful and profound and feeds right into so much of what I say and what I talk about. And what I love about all of them, Greg, Bruce, Shamini, is that they really put the research and the facts into the things that I speak about, which I experienced personally, and have the medical records to prove that this happened to me on a physical level. So the second thing I learned is that all of us are primarily spiritual beings. We are spirit first, physical second. The physical is a reflection of the spirit. So what does it mean to be a spiritual being? That means that you are born from spirit. You are a spiritual being when you're born. You go back into full spiritual being when you die. But all the way along, somewhere along the way, we forget that we are primarily spiritual beings. So what helps me to navigate the challenges that our world is facing right now is constantly remembering that I am not just this physical body. I am a spiritual being first. And if you think of an iceberg, all you see of an iceberg is the tip, which is only about 10% of the iceberg. Most of the iceberg is below the surface. That's what we are. Most of us is non-physical. Now, to me, I look like on the screen, I'm watching the screen and the screen is frozen. I just want to check Can everyone else hear me? I'm good with everyone else. Yes.
We can hear you, but your screen is frozen. So maybe Danny can help
Yeah.
you in the background.
Anita, you are the only person I know that can be frozen on the screen and still look good. Usually when I'm frozen on the screen, my mouth is like wide open in the middle of a word. You look awesome.
That's usually my biggest fear of being frozen. It's oh my God, what position was I frozen in? Thank you for that, Greg. Oh, so one of the things that that I like people to know is that, in fact, you are huge, humongous, more powerful than you have ever been led to believe. And I really wish I had several hours to really share with you all what it felt like in the other realm, because you realize that you are far more powerful and you are actually the whole iceberg, but you've been navigating life believing that you're only this little tip, this 10%, and you haven't relied on or leaned upon the real important, big, powerful part of you, which is available to you at all times. And that is the part of you that I call the God part of you, or the source part. That's the part of you that's connected to God or source and is connected to everybody else. Like, we are all connected. Basically, your iceberg is connected to mine, and we don't see it's connected because it's below the surface. It's beneath the surface. All of us are connected. We all have access to each other's energies, but we don't realize it. Because we only see that little tip sticking out of the water, we think we are all separate. Actually, every single one of us is a facet of God. And when we deny who we are by repressing and suppressing our soul, when we fear the world, when we become people pleasers and doormats and deny and push down who we are, here's what we're doing. We are actually denying God or source from expressing itself through us. And who are we to deny God from expressing itself through us, through our physical bodies? We are here as a facet of God or source to express ourselves to our fullest. That's number one. Number two, the fact that we're all connected beneath the surface. When we see each other as enemies, what we don't realize is all of us are facets of the same whole. If we think of ourselves, all of us, as one whole, one giant organism, expressions of one giant organism, when we see each other as enemies, when we attack each other, we are attacking the very organism that we are part of. And so what I like to talk about and remind people of, because this is a huge thing that I learned, is that because I learned we're all connected, and because I learned that when we die, when we cross over, I realized that all of us are part of the same whole. And I realized that things like, I realized what truly matters. And here are the things that really matter in life. The first thing that really matters is love. It's really about how much did I love? How much connection did I have with everybody else in life? Because when we are so obsessed with competitiveness, with trying to get ahead of everyone, being right as opposed to being compassionate, or being right as opposed to being kind, when we're so obsessed with seeing other people as being our enemies, we realize only after we die that we focused on the wrong thing. We focused on the things that made us miserable. And so I now realize that when we die, for all of us, it doesn't matter which side you were on. It doesn't matter whether you're currently, if you're in America, whether you're on the left or the right, or if it doesn't matter which news channel you follow or which newspaper you read. People that don't watch the same channel as you are not your enemies. People that don't read the same news station as you are not your enemies, because when we die, we realize that all of us are part of the same organism. And as Greg said, this is a test. This is a test to see if we can be resilient enough to actually come past it and see through it, see through this fear that mainstream media is constantly feeding us, see through the fear that every, I would say every huge infrastructure is feeding us, everything from the fear that mainstream medicine, the pharmaceutical companies feed us, the mainstream news media feed us, see through that fear and see that in actuality, we are all part of one organism, and collaborating is far more powerful than competition. We would get so much further if we learned to collaborate instead of competing. And love is far more important than of course, hatred and fear. And using our money to help and feed each other instead of using all our resources to kill each other and get bigger and bigger weapons. So these are the things that I learned were really important on the other side. And I just want to give you all some tools on how to see through this. We are actually the creators, the co-creators of this physical life, and we come from soul first. What we see here in the physical life is a reflection of who we are. So when we see an outside world that we're not happy with, instead of going out and trying to change the world, the best thing we can do is to look at who we are from the inside and work with who we are. Because when we can work with who we are and expand our own energy, we become a beacon of light. We start to actually impact other people just by our presence. But when we go and fight against what we don't like and what we see outside in the world, we're actually adding to the anger. We're actually giving them fuel to fight back even harder. So the metaphor I like to use is, if you imagine yourself looking in a mirror, and imagine you don't like what you see in the mirror. Now imagine, in order to resolve what you don't like what you see in the mirror, you start attacking the mirror, or you start painting something different in the mirror, because you don't realize that what you're actually seeing is a reflection of you. So the change starts with us, each of us, because each one of us is a cell of this living organism that we call life and the planet that we all inhabit. So I want to leave you with that, but I have so much more that I can say, but I want to give time to the others.
Oh, Anita, that was just exquisite. And, you know, I've had the pleasure and honor of working with you for, I don't know, at least 12, 13 years now. And one of the things that I absolutely love when you do what you do at our live events, at our retreats that we do together, is you take people through a process and through this healing journey to really land into everything that you have taught us today. I remember the last retreat that we did, it was like several hundred people were just on cloud nine, and we connected heart to heart. So for all of you, how do you feel about that? Did you feel like that really, really resonated for you, what Anita just shared with us? That was so exquisite. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone is saying, yes, yes, love, beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Liz. And thank you for giving me this platform to share this.
Oh, it's an honor. And next up, and I want you all to stick around, because all of our teachers today have something super special to share with you at the end of our conversation today. So stick around. All right. So next up, we have the fabulous Brucey Lipton.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here with you. First of all, let me acknowledge that our wonderful audience out there. I acknowledge them because they're the cultural creatives that are here to help make a change on this planet. And I say, what do you mean make a change? Well, I can give you a very simple fact. Science has recognized today a very important piece of information, and that is to sustain the world right now. If you just want to keep everybody living just the way we're living right at this moment, it takes 1.6 planet Earths to provide the resources. Well, there's a clear problem here. We don't have an extra 0.6 planet. And so what does it mean? It says we're living beyond our ability to support ourselves. That science has recognized, and NASA scientists have actually put a date on it to say within the next 20 years, and probably faster, industrial civilization, the one we're in, is facing, and let me emphasize the word, irreversible collapse. In other words, we're not going back. We have to move forward. And I go, so what's the point? And I say, well, why do we have a problem on the planet today? Chaos is everywhere all over the planet. You can look at each little chaos as some special event. And I go, no, you're missing the fact that there's an overriding bigger thing we have to deal with, and that is we are not sustainable.
Right, and we have to be the change. We
You
definitely,
are the
definitely have to,
change.
we have to be the change. Absolutely. Well, let me ask you a question. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. How can we better understand the connection between our beliefs and thoughts with our physical and emotional well-being on a quantum level?
Well, the first thing we have to understand is knowledge is power. Yep, that's a fact. We also must recognize the corollary of that is a lack of knowledge is a lack of power. And then one more aspect, and that is a misperception is disempowerment. And one of the biggest misperceptions that the world is suffering right now from is the belief that genes control your life. We've been programmed since 1950s that genes are the blueprints that unfold and our life is created. And I say, what did we learn from that scientific story? And the answer is, well, as far as we know, we didn't pick the genes. If you don't like your characteristics, you can't change the genes. Then we just add one more, and that is they turn on and off by themselves. I say, put all that together. I say, what is the result of that consciousness? And the answer is we are victims. We are victims of our heredity. The people look in their family and say, oh my God, there's cancer running family. I can get the cancer, Alzheimer's, I can get this, I can get that. Well, here's a very important fact. And Anita brought this up, and I just want to emphasize it from a scientific point of view, and that is simply this. Yes, the world is in a health crisis right at this moment. And I say, well, what's responsible for this health crisis? Well, we've been emphasizing that there's a breakdown in the body and that the pharmaceutical company is going to help us repair the body. And I go, a complete misperception, disempowering fact. Significance is this: less than 1% of disease is even connected to genes. I go, so where's disease coming from? Stress. I said, well, how does stress affect us? So I say, well, there's a new science. And that new science, a lot of the people in this community right now are very familiar with. But if you're not, it's one of the most important new understandings and corrects a misperception that has disempowered us. And that is the science called epigenetics. I go, what the heck is that? Well, you've been programmed that this character X is under genetic control. Genes control X. The new science is called epigenetics. So I would say, yeah, epigenetics controls X. And I go, yeah, but it sounds the same. I go, no, here's the difference. Epi means above. We call skin epidermis because just under the skin is a layer called dermis. So skin is above epidermis. So I say, this character is under epigenetic control. I say, what does it mean? Control epi above the genes. And all of a sudden it says, wait, you've been programmed to believe that genes turn off and control your life. 100% false. 100% false. Genes don't create the activities, they respond to the activities. And I go, so what's controlling all this? Well, this is what I really want to emphasize in our program. And again, I love looking forward to this program because all of us on this panel right now are active participants collaborating to provide a whole new science and a whole new vision and a whole new knowledge. Knowledge is power about how to get through the current moment. Well, number one is epigenetics. And I say, what's important? It says control epi above the genes. I say, what is it? Well, it turns out like this. Our thoughts, pictures in your mind, are what we have thoughts about, belief of what we think about the world. You have a picture. Oh, life is good. Life is not good. I'm going to get sick. I'm not going to get sick. I say, these are thoughts. I say, yeah, but what? The brain's job is to translate those thoughts into what is called complementary chemistry. So in other words, a thought of love causes the brain to release some wonderful chemistry in your body, dopamine for pleasure. This is why we like being in love. We also get oxytocin coming out, and that bonds you to your lover. When you're in love, you also release chemistry from the brain called growth hormone, which does what it says. When we fall in love, we enhance our vitality. And that's why when people fall in love, they say, oh, see how in love they are. They glow. I go, that's the chemistry that's coming from the thought. If you have a picture of fear, the love chemistry doesn't come out, fear chemistry comes out. It's a different chemistry completely. It's associated with stress hormones. I go, stress hormones? I go, yeah. And here's the fact, 90% or more of illness on this planet is all due to one thing, stress. Stress means that you have difficulty in seeing the harmony in your life and that things don't look very good. You feel threatened in your life, and these are thoughts. The thought is turned into the stress hormones, such as cortisol. And the cortisols then adjust your biology for protection, because fear means protect yourself. And so we're living in a world where there's so much to fear. Whether it's the idea of COVID, or whether the idea is maybe your job's not going to last, or the money's not going to be there, or you're not going to have money to take care of yourself, or you might be living on the street. Fear. I say, so what? I say, fear chemistry shuts down the biology for protection. I go, why? What's the reason for that? I go, well, protection from the original day, run away from that saber-toothed tiger that is threatening you. So I say, so why is this important? And the answer is this. When we are in stress, the stress hormones switch the energy of the body, not from growth, but into protection. I say, well, what's the difference? I say, well, growth is open. You want to take something in, your nutrition. You want to take love in, that's growth. You have to take it in, you're open. I say, but protection, that's the complete opposite. Protection is you close yourself down. I said, well, to give you some information that we're going to really expand on and go deeper into, number one, I said, well, what does it mean, protection? I said, well, that means you want to be ready for fight or flight. And I go, well, in school, we call that the adrenal system. I go, yeah. I say, what does the adrenal system do? It makes sure that the arms and legs get the most blood they can get. And I said, why? Because blood's got the energy in it. So if you're going to run away from that tiger, you want all the blood you can get into your arms and legs to energize you to get away. So I said, well, what is the consequence? Now listen, I'm going to give you just 3 consequences of that stress hormone that's running through your system when you look at the world. Number 1, the stress hormones cause the blood vessels in the gut to squeeze shut. I go, why? Because when the blood vessels are squeezed shut, the blood is pushed to the arms and legs. Matter of fact, when you're in a moment of fear or stress, you can feel the blood vessels shutting down. It's called butterflies in the stomach. It's the queasy feeling when you feel a little fear going on. I say, what's it doing? Squeezing the blood vessels, push the blood to the arms and legs so we can start running and save our lives. That's number 1. Number 2, what else does stress hormones do? They shut off the immune system. Why? Well, the immune system is internal protection. You're trying to save yourself from the tiger that's out there. I mean, if you have an illness and the tiger gets you, you don't have an illness anymore, do you? And the relevance about all this is very simply that to conserve energy, we shut down the immune system. And I say, why? I say, well, if you've ever been sick, you probably didn't even have the energy to get out of bed. Well, if you have a bacterial infection and you're supporting that with your energy and you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you might want to consider, where do you want the energy? The heck with the bacterial infections. Why? The tiger catches you, bacteria are not your problem anymore. So I say, stress hormones shut off the immune system to conserve energy. It's so effective that when doctors want to transplant an organ from person A into person B, they don't want the recipient's immune system to reject the foreign organ. They give the recipient stress hormones before the operation. Why? It shuts down the immune system. So number one, you shut down the growth and maintenance of the body by shutting off the blood vessels in the gut where all the organs are. Number two, you shut down the immune system, which means now you're really open for a problem. And number three, you actually shut down the intelligence. The stress hormones cause the blood vessels in the conscious brain behind your forehead squeeze shut because it pushes the blood to the hindbrain where reaction is necessary. So I say, let's put the three together. Shut down the gut, maintenance of the body. Shut down the immune system, protection of the threats inside the body. Shut down the intelligence, and then you become a victim. So I say, then where are we in the world? We're seeing chaos all over. The stress of that is at every different level in every different country, whether it's economic, political, social, religious, racial. Stress is causing all the chaos. And I say, but here's the important point. As NASA scientists said, we're facing an irreversible collapse because of the current system. It's the way we've been living that is causing our own extinction process. So what does it say? It says the only way to survive is to break down the old system that is causing the problem and build a new system that we can not just survive, but thrive into the future. So the stresses you're facing are actually saying, no, current life is threatening. And that when you're in that stress, that's where the health crisis comes from. And I say, and we have to move out and we have to build a new one. Don't fight the old system. It will suck all your energy and you won't change it. What we do in this case, and Buckminster Fuller told us that he said, don't fight the system, go build a new one. Well, what do you think we have 8,000 people on this line for? Because we're all looking for the new one. And I want to add something because I want to take Anita's story, which is so profound, and just put in another look on it. And that is simply this. As a scientist for 40 years of my life, I never believed in spirituality. I believed in genes and chromosomes and cells and proteins. But my study of the cells revealed something that was so profound, it transformed my life in an instant. I said, what was that? It goes based on this. You cannot put your cells or organs into another person's body. I go, why not? Because their immune system will say that transplant is not self. I go, wait a minute. The immune system is reading something that says Bruce on it versus, let's say, Greg or Anita. I go, well, what is it reading that knows me different from all the other people? And here it is. On the surface of your cells, there are proteins. They're like antennas. They're called self-receptors. There's a bunch of them. I say, what do they do? Well, they're receivers, self-receivers. I say, well, what do you mean? I said, well, they're getting a self signal. I say, well, where is it coming from? The receptors are on the outside of the cell. I say, well, what does that mean? I say, well, then who you are is coming to you and your receptors are picking it up. And I say, well, why is that important? Because as we're going to get into in the program, quantum physics, the most valid science on this planet, recognizes that our consciousness and our spirituality is running the show. And I said, spirituality, I go, oh my God, the cells are reading your identity. There are no two people in the entire world with the same set of receptors. I said, yeah, but what are the receptors reading? Environmental signal. So analogy is very simple. Consider yourself, your body as a television set. So in this case, hey, thank you for watching the Bruce show on this television set. But I say the broadcast of Bruce is not in the television, just like your show is not in the television. It's received by the television. So I say, yo, so what? And I said, well, you're watching the TV, the television breaks. And I go, yeah, the television is dead. But here's the question. Did the broadcast die when the TV broke? And the answer is nope. Broadcast is always there. And guess what? If a future embryo shows up with the same receptors that you have, you're back. Why? Your identity is the field. Your identity is not the television set. You are a spiritual energy. And I go, a spiritual energy? I go, spirit? I go, physics refers to all the energy that we're immersed in, like an aquarium of energy. They call it the field. I go, what's the definition of the field? Invisible moving forces that influence the physical world. I go, spirit, definition, invisible moving forces that influence the physical world. And in fact, today at this time, Quantum physics, the most valid science on this planet, has acknowledged in journals, especially the journal Nature, the most prestigious scientific journal on the planet. There was an article from a physicist, Richard Conn Henry, and I just need to read the last line to you because it's like in the most prestigious scientific journal. And it goes, the universe is immaterial, meaning it's energy. The universe is immaterial. It's mental and spiritual. Live and enjoy. I go, oh my God.
That's a mic drop. That is an absolute mic drop. Bruce, this was
It is.
so
It's
beautiful. And I
lovely.
know, you have such fantastic information, and everyone in the chat is saying, Bruce, somebody's saying, I love the Uncle Bruce show.
I just want to close very quickly and just say,
Can you repeat that again? Because someone asked, can you just say that again?
which
The
again, everything I just said,
No, that last sentence.
the last sentence. And again, most prestigious scientific journal, Nature, the universe is immaterial, meaning it's made out of energy. The universe is immaterial. It's mental and spiritual. Live and enjoy. Well, this is exactly the message that each of us on this committee, panel, group, whatever it is trying to reveal to you, each from a different understanding, a different perspective. So when you put it all together, you get to understand this. As Anita said, you're not the body, you're the broadcast. The broadcast, that's the energy. All of the energy called God. What are you? A piece of God. Can you be separated from God? No. Why? It's your broadcast that's picked up by your receptors, and nobody can interfere with that.
Absolutely. Can I hear an amen from everyone? Can we get an amen? Bruce, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. We're so, so grateful for your teachings. Amen. We're getting thousands of amens. Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. And Dr. Shamini. All right. I am so excited that you're here because I have been fascinated with your work since the minute I was introduced to you, because I love saying the word psychoneuroimmunology. And Dr. Shamini is the one to talk about psychoneuroimmunology. Now I can't say it. So the acronym is PNI, is that correct?
Yes, because nobody can say the word psychoneuroimmunology, and there's even the endocrine system. So if you say psychoneuroendocrinology, immunoendocrinology, it goes on and on. So that we have a joke, Liz, if you can say psychoneuroimmunology 7 times really fast, you get your degree.
Oh, good. I don't think I could do
But
it.
mostly we will just say PNI or PNE for short. And Brucey did such a great job of kind of describing these pathways. Most of us think about psychoneuroimmunology as it relates to stress, because as scientists, scientists like to study the negative. Unfortunately, we're changing that a little bit. But Brucey talked a lot about what happens in the stress response and how it constricts our blood vessels, how it shifts our brain chemistry. And this field of PNI is actually pretty new, believe it or not. 60 years ago, if a doctor went to a scientist or vice versa and said, I'm noticing a pattern in my patients, and I'm noticing there's certain dispositions or things that they're struggling with in their life and their relationships, and I think that's related to their illness, they would have been laughed at 60 years ago. But because of the work of really wonderful scientists who came together to share what they were learning, we have this beautiful field, and we've learned so many things, not just how stress can, affect our bodies in negative ways, but also speaking to what Greg and Anita were sharing about resilience and spiritual resilience. We're just beginning to come into deeper awareness of that. So we know from the science that there are things that we can do to reharmonize the body, even when we're faced with stressful circumstances. And I just want to say, Liz, this isn't actually new. For Western science, it's new. This idea that, my environment and my diet and my movement and my emotional, spiritual, energetic well-being affects my body. Well, it turns out that indigenous medical systems across the world have known this for eons, and it's actually the base and source of substance in Chinese medicine, African medicine, Ayurveda. Now we have these fancy terms again in the West. We're starting to use the term whole person health, right? Looking at the whole person. But as Anita and Greg also shared, it's not just whole person, it's whole people. Because, tying it into what Bruce was saying, what we're learning and what I feel is really the exciting extension of psychoneuroimmunology is, yes, it's diet, yes, it's sleep, it's, all these things that we know, but it's also our energy and tapping into our energy. And that's what I've been so passionate about for decades, studying this area that in the West, we like to call biofield science, literally the immaterial universe and how it connects with the material. Because, I know I've seen a lot of things in the chat. Okay, great. Well, how do I do it? How do I navigate these challenges? How do I do it? And I really, truly believe that a powerful tool that we have that most people aren't probably using enough is coming back into the connection with our energy to free the spirit. Connect with energy, free your spirit, transform your life. It's really that simple. And I want to share this with you all because this is so fantastic. Now, my dear colleagues know I'm out here right now in San Diego filming for a beautiful documentary on healing that my nonprofit, the Consciousness and Healing Initiative, is putting together. So we're interviewing patients, we're interviewing integrative health practitioners, scientists, and doctors. And yesterday we had this very interesting experience where we were interviewing a curandera, and then I asked for a limpia. So if those of you may be familiar with what a limpia is, it's a cleansing ritual, a deep cleansing ritual to help just sort of clear away, right? Because that's a lot of what we're talking about. And so speaking of psychoneuroimmunology, you can see here the fields of energy that came. Now, this was not random. This rainbow actually appeared, this was yesterday, when Grace Sesma, the curandera, called upon my grandmother ancestor spirits to assist in the clearing. That rainbow wasn't there before. And it actually, we have pictures because my producer just happened to see it and started snapping pictures. So it started small and then sort of grew and encircled us all. It really, it encircled both Grace and I during the healing process. And I wanted to share that with you all because, first of all, it's beautiful to see that we're always surrounded by grace. And we don't always see it with our own eyes, but it's there for us. And the spiritual reserve, the spiritual resilience that Greg is talking about is not just the leading edge of psychoneuroimmunology. Psyche means spirit. And as a scientist, we know that it's important for us to study the effects of the non-material, the connection with the fields of energy and information that connect us and heal us. So there are amazing studies really pointing to how when we connect with energy healing, whether we do it with ourselves and we can do a practice, or we have someone else help us, like in an Olympia situation like this, what happens? We realign with our spiritual nature. We know that we're not alone. We can literally feel the shift in our energy, bringing us back to the core being of ourselves and feeling each other without the sense of division and tension. And so it's all about really engaging in that practice and knowing that your ability to heal, as Anita is a living embodiment of and teaches, is beyond anything that you might even imagine. It's infinite. And so that's really what psychoneuroimmunology is about.
There we go. I was talking and I was muted. I've had the honor and pleasure of having several conversations with you about psychoneuroimmunology, and I love the description of PNI, and I love everything that it embodies. And one of the things that you did during our conversation is that you took me and several 100,000 people, whoever was tuning in at that time, through a process. And it was so exquisite because I could feel my whole body just settling in. And I would love for all of you that are here joining us today to experience this. So I've asked Dr. Shamini to share that process with us. And everyone maybe stop typing for a few moments. If you're driving, don't do this. But would you be willing to share that process with us right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And just a little bit of preamble. First of all, I know we've been sitting for a while. So if anyone wants to get up, and I'll just demonstrate because, the hips, you can stand up for part of this if you want to just, make sure that your hips are loose and you're really feeling your legs. Now, let's talk a little bit specifically. What I want to talk about is transforming fire into light, because that's part of the calling. It's not that fire is bad. Fire is great. It moves us to action. It's one of the elements. We have many elemental forces and energies that work through us and through our bodies. And we're always looking to harmonize that. That's what all these indigenous medical systems do for us. And it turns out we can do that with our mind and our focus to connect with our energy in that way. So this practice is really going to be about connecting with what's here and opening to expand to the light, to the rainbow, like that I just showed you, right? Because again, we're supported. And part of our charge, as Greg says, is to enhance our spiritual resilience. And Anita says to remember that we're deeply interconnected. We are unity and diversity. So how do we do that? Well, first, we want to get grounded. What do we know about fire? Well, and I mentioned fire because we talked about stress. We talked about all of these crazy things that are going on in the world. I've seen lots of things in the chat. How are we handling things that are going on in Gaza? How do we handle the crime, the murders, all these things? Yes, there's a lot of suffering. And when we feel indignant about that suffering, it brings up a fire in us. And so the question is how we work with that in a way that is actually going to promote harmony and not more discord. So let's take a moment and just make sure we're grounded, because what do we know about fire? How do you kind of harmonize a fire? You can use earth, you can use water. So first we get grounded in the body. And I'm going to invite you, whether you are choosing to sit or stand, to just first allow the breath to deeply come into the body through the nose. You can close your eyes or keep them open in a pleasant place in the room. Just notice your breath. No right or wrong way to breathe. Just notice what's here. And now see if you can bring with your awareness a noticing of your breath into the belly area and below. Some of you may be familiar with the hara point, which is just a little below the belly button. If you like, you can anchor there. You can also anchor your breath in your hips, in your bladder area, just so that you're deeply breathing all the way into the lower body. And letting that nourishing, cooling breath flow down the legs and out the feet, grounding yourself into beautiful Mother Earth. And so just feel your breath really resting here in the lower body. And now to enhance this release, I'm going to use a little sound. Sound is consciousness, and sound connects and moves energy. So here, I know that we all won't hear each other, so I'll demonstrate and you can giggle, but I really want to encourage you to make your own sound. And I find that nourishing sound here to stimulate movement and flow in the energy body are vowels like ooh and And so when we use these vowels, we're really placing the sound again in the lower body. You can move the energy down the legs or place the sound at the base of the spine, however you like. So we'll start with just a simple ooh. Let's do this 2 more times. making your own inner sound allows you to meet yourself in a very beautiful and gentle way. And as you can see, just by using this base level ooh sound, you might feel more of a resonance in your lower body. And I'd love for you, if you want, you can throw it into the chat, anything that you're feeling during this. But also, if it takes you away from the practice, don't do that. We'll have time to talk later. But now that we're a little anchored in the lower body, we're really present in our bodies, because our physical bodies are a gift, right? Psychoneuroimmunology teaches us much of what Anita is saying. Our physical bodies are a representation of our spirit, a vehicle for facilitating beautiful change and creation, right? We're all conscious co-creators in embodied form. So honoring the body in this way is a wonderful place to start. And now we can begin to expand even further from me to we, by placing some attention and focus and energy up the body into the heart center. So now we're just going to take a moment, and you can place your hands here in the heart center if you want while we do this. And again, just reconnect with your breath here in the heart and the lungs. Gently breathing in and expanding. And I will wager that as you do this, just even the simple breathing, paying attention to the front and the back of the heart, recognizing that we're creating a resonant field right here and now with each other, because the biofield teaches us that healing occurs across time and space. And then we can enhance this resonance by all chanting together, even if we don't hear each other. I guarantee you we will feel each other. So we're going to place a simple seed mantra to begin with that you're probably familiar with, Om. And when you chant this, think of the relief that opening the heart can give. And you already know this. Think about what happens when something is relaxing, or you take a nice breath and you go, ah, right? So you can even do this a few times, just ah. There's a nice sigh, again, a release. Everything is about the movement of transformation, maintenance, and creation, that cycle of time in life. Ah, and the sigh is all of that, right? The inspiration, the movement, and the flow, and the ebbing and the flowing. So with that same feeling of the we chant the Om as almost an ah. So I'll demonstrate, and we'll do this a few times together. And really just allow the heart to expand and connect. We're all connected here through this beautiful sound. And rest for a moment here. Feel the sense of expansion and peace that you just co-created. And in our final moments here of collective practice, if you would like to invite any guides or ancestors to be with you during this time we have together, and even beyond throughout the day, keeping your attention and your focus here on the front and the back of the heart, invite them in. And it can be as simple as, Spirit, please be with me. Feel the shift. And allow for anything that wishes to be released to simply release from you. Replenishing, renourishing every cell of your being. And grateful for the opportunity to come into collective practice in this way. Take a moment to thank yourself and your guides for coming into collective practice together. And when you're ready, if you've had your eyes closed, you can open them.
It was exquisite. And now you all know why. And it started to happen to me, and I had to stop it because I didn't want to have ugly cry. I cry when I do this because
Opening the heart
it
does
melts, right? It melts me right into my heart space. And you can all share how you felt about that too. And if you love this conversation, right, Greg, there's more of this, right?
You know, Liz, I mean, it's obvious. Well, first of all, I learn something every time I hear from my dear friends and colleagues, even though we've known one another for decades. I always learn something new. I did a quick calculation, and we are right now, between the four of us, we have 140 years of collective wisdom that we are offering. And it's, you know, it's obvious that we all have a lot to share. Community, I know you've heard a couple of the speakers refer to something where we can expand on that sharing, and that something is precisely what I want to talk to you about right now. We wanted to give you something today that you could use immediately. You can walk away from this and have new insights into your relationship to the world around you and practices that you can do. The four of us are coming together. I'm hesitating in the interest of time, and I'm just going to say this. The four of us came together as dear friends, and we look at a lot of the programs people are offering. And as good as they are, we felt like there is a way to go deeper. And we need multiple days, and we need a beautiful environment. Liz has offered to create that environment in Arizona in January. So that is January 26th through 29th of the year coming up, 2024, and it is in Scottsdale. I always want to say Phoenix. It's in Scottsdale, Arizona, where we will be there. And I just want you to know we've, you know, I don't like, that's not the reason that we ask you to come here today. We're having a tough time in the world. The world's a tough place. We wanted to give you something meaningful for you and your family. And if what we have done speaks to you and you want to take that deep dive, my experience is that a retreat experience is the way to do it. What does that mean? It's when we come together as a community and we have sessions at odd hours. We have night sessions, we have day sessions, we have breakout sessions, a lot of time with the four of us interacting together, which rather than just one after another on the stage, so everybody's raising or nodding their head, we wanted to do this.
Yes.
So I wanted everyone to know, if this kind of information speaks to you, there's an opportunity. We would be so honored to be able to share this with you. And the reason is we love you. And I'm not just saying that because we're here together today. We're in this together. This is a rare and precious moment in the history of our planet, in the history of our civilization. We've never seen anything like what we're seeing in the world now. Every one of us is going to have to be at our absolute best. We've got to be healthier than we've ever been. We have to have more resilience. We've got to have rock solid spiritual anchors and an emotional compass to guide us in a healthy way. We're all going to get through it. We want to get through it in a healthy way, not to survive, but to transcend, to become more than everything that we're seeing here. And that's what this is all about. So, Liz, I know we wanted to honor our time. I wanted to say that before we run out of time. And anybody else wants to chime in about this as well. This would be a good time, I think.
I just wanted to add this, Brother Greg, and dear sisters, and our friend Liz Dawn, thank you for putting all of this together. And Greg is right. We are facing a planetary upheaval. Knowledge is power, and what the four of us offer is self-empowerment. We're going to provide you with the knowledge where you can have your power back, because as I said, we've been programmed with some misperceptions that have taken our power away, but this is an opportunity to clear up those misperceptions and to get new knowledge and new power. So we would be so excited to see you there. And if you can't make it, it's still in the field, folks, that we are still generating a field of consciousness.
Yes. And what I love what you shared, Bruce, is that us to start a new way of being in the world. And I love that. And I know, Anita, you wanted to share a little bit about something as well. But Bruce, what you shared about us being in a new way of being, this is going to be it. And Anita, I think you have to unmute yourselves.
Did you say unmute
Now,
yourselves?
unmute yourselves, right?
I like that.
You're still,
That's what I thought
you're
I
still
heard.
muted. You're still muted. Nope, you're still muted. All right. Well, I know a
There you
lot
are.
of
There
you
you
are
are.
asked. There you go.
And yes, okay. So what I wanted to say is to echo what Greg and Bruce, well, what everyone's been saying, but what Greg and Bruce just said, is that we came here today to give people something because of this time we're going through, this period we're going through. And the four of us, we came together to help the planet, and we ended up creating something really magical together. And that's what we want to share. And people come to me all the time and say, how can I start my healing journey? How can I start my healing journey? And I always say that what would be great is if we could take you out of your everyday life, out of your environment, and cocoon you in a different environment that's conducive to you healing, thriving, living, despite what's happening in the world outside. And this is what we've created with this event. It will be like a cocoon. It's so different from actually just watching us live online, because when you watch us from your computer, when you're just watching us live on video, you're still in your home environment. You're still going back to your daily life, and you're still going back to members of your family, watching the news. You're still being infused with everything that's happening around you, the fear, the anger, and everything else. But here you're going to be cocooned for several days. And that's where real healing can begin to take place. And that's why I'm excited about this event. And I can't wait to see those of you who are able to come. And as Bruce said, if you're not able to come, we still would like our energy to help you and help this planet to make some shifts.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I'm going to just take over here, guys, because I'm looking at the time, because I'm the details woman. I am the details woman. So we are doing an event with all four of them collaborating together as dear friends and colleagues. The name of the retreat is Open Hearts, Resilient Spirit. You can see that on the screen. Fusing science and soul for enduring transformation. And it's specifically in January 26th to 29th of next year, 2024, because we felt it was the perfect time to set intentions, to give you clarity, to give you that wisdom, to make it the best year ever for yourselves, to walk in this next year with grace, with divinity, with wholeness, with understanding PNI, to understand how these stressors in your life have just been overwhelming you, and tools and processes to do your life in a way that really resonates with the truth of who you are. So I'm going to share a little bit about the retreat with you. There'll be intensive workshops. Each speaker, each presenter that you see here, Anita and Bruce and Greg and Dr. Shamani, are all going to be presenting intensive workshops with experiential healing processes. They can go into a lot more depth than what we did here today. There'll be panel discussions with all four teachers together, and there'll be a time that you can actually ask questions and receive answers from each of the teachers. You'll be surrounded by this kind of conversation with like-minded people. And of course, we will have heart-opening music. So Greg Braden's workshop is going to focus on pure human divinity, from the limits of fear to the power of your destiny. And Anita Morjani will focus on awakening your inner light and a journey through healing and purpose. And I know that Anita will take you through some extraordinarily powerful healing journeys into your soul, into the truth of who you are. And then we've got Bruce Lipton, Brucey as we call him, from metaphysics to quantum physics. And you'll have a more in-depth conversation. He'll expound on so much of the information that he was able to share today. And it will be a really, really in-depth conversation. And then Dr. Shamini Jain will talk about flourishing in your life and insights from PNI and spiritual wisdom to create harmony and beauty in your world. And again, Dr. Shamini will definitely share some of her processes. And if you enjoyed this conversation today, I know you are just going to love this program. And what we're offering all of you today is a $200 discount just for showing up today, a $200 discount off of the general seating package. When you enter the coupon code HEART200, HEART200, you will receive $200 off the general seating packet. We have different packages. There's 3 different packages, as you'll note on the website, and that offer ends in 72 hours. So you will receive a $200 discount off of the general seating package when you put in, let me put that again, write down that coupon code. That's HEART200. And then the URL, I will go ahead and put that in the chat as well. For those of you, now I can't find my chat. Here we go. Here's the chat. So that URL, and I'm going to type it in here. And hopefully I type this in correctly, but you can see it on the screen as well. So please make sure, go to the website, review all the information, and we so look forward to seeing you in person. I know that all of our speakers would be, I know they're just overjoyed to do this because they came to me and said, you know, we've been wanting to do this program. We know that this is timely for it. Bruce talks all about how beautiful it is that we need to be the change in the world. And this is where it begins, with all of us coming together in person, heart to heart, connecting. So I hope that you, okay, please send the website. All right, I'll send all of you an email, but for some reason, my link isn't coming through. Let me try it again over here and see if that works. So maybe you want to write this down, but it's open hearts, that's plural, celebrateyourlife.com/home. So I'll put that screen back on. I'm sure all of you can see the screen, and I'll go ahead and put the screen back up there, and the URL is right there. It's open hearts, which is plural, celebrateyourlife.com/home. And I will make sure and immediately follow up with, thank you for all of you who are posting it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So the $200 discount is on the general seating, and put in the code HEART, singular, HEART200. So do any of our beautiful teachers want to share anything more about?
Wanted to say
coming
one
to the
thing,
retreat?
that is that the Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh was always fond of saying that a person without a sangha, or a spiritual community, is like a drop of rain in the desert. And what that means is, you know, as we come to understand our interconnection, having these opportunities to come together in real time and space is incredibly, it's a privilege, it's an honor. Of course, it's a privilege and honor for me to be among Greg and Anita and Bruce for this. I do have to say, you can imagine, you probably get the sense we're all pretty busy. The last time we did this was over a year ago, and it's taken us this long to get our schedules together. And we're really grateful that Liz has really helped to orchestrate us to have this event together. So I don't take it for granted, actually. I don't take it lightly personally, and I'm very, very grateful. So if you feel called to come into retreat, I would strongly encourage you to consider this, because it is a very rare occurrence, and the feedback that we got from the last time we did this is still, I still have people coming to me and talking to me about how their life literally just shifted after that. And I just want to thank everybody who came today to be with us, and I think we can already start to feel the transformations, and those will continue to move with you throughout the day and the weekend, of course.
Thank you.
I would just like to add this. Each of us has a website filled with all kinds of information to really support everything we've been talking about. So a lot of people cannot get that distance to get to Scottsville, whatever place. But the important part is our information is available to enhance your life and your vitality, and it's on our website. So please.
We look forward to seeing you though in person.
Oh, that will be
That's where the
exciting.
transformation happens. It's really true what Anita was sharing, is that you can do things in a live event, in a live retreat, that does not happen online. And I have been doing this for 28 years. 28 years of my life I have devoted to creating spiritual, uplifting, higher level consciousness programs. My mom and I started the company in 1995. And I can tell you without a doubt that transformation does happen in the space. I have thousands, hundreds of thousands of feedback forms, which I could show all of you. And over again, I hear that the teachers were off the charts fantastic in the processes. And I also hear that the tribe, the soul tribe coming together in person, heart to heart, is another piece of the huge transformation that happens. And I've seen soul tribes, soul friends, best friends. I've even seen people meet and get married from our events.
Yeah.
So,
Liz, I want to chime in here, because when we talk about the kinds of things we're talking about, all of us often hear from individuals who they question their worth to receive their divinity, to open to their deepest potential, the extraordinary potentials, that live within us. So I'm going to address that in just a couple of sentences. In 2004, there was a discovery that speaks directly to this. And that discovery was the scientific fact that our DNA, our genome, is not random, that there is information that lives within our bodies. We carry it in the 50 trillion cells in our bodies. And the first layer of that information speaks to everything we're talking about here. Because everyone listening to this, I want you to know, there's a message that you've carried from the time of your conception in every cell of your body. And when we translate it, it literally says, God eternal within the body. God eternal within the body. So when we talk about spiritual resilience, and when Anita talks about we're all part of one, what is it that we're part of? We're part of God eternal within the body. And I think when people ask about their worth, and this is what I want to leave people with today, whatever challenge faces everyone, I'm going to invite you to think about it from this perspective. How would God eternal within the body solve this challenge, rather than looking at the limits and the perceptions of the programs of the past? And this is what we will be doing also when we are together with hundreds of hearts. Those heart fields, literally electromagnetic fields, coalesce into a greater convergence that opens the door to deep states of intuition and healing. I don't know any other way to do it. So Liz, thank you. Anita, Shamini, Bruce, thank you for sharing part of your day. And I want to thank everyone who's tuned in and stayed with us for this whole thing today.
absolutely. Thank you all so much. And thank you, Bruce and Shamini and Greg and Anita. I so greatly appreciate you taking the time today. And thank all of you out there who participated. And I really look forward to meeting you in person. That is We're going to dance, we're going to sing, we're going to meditate, we're going to pray, we're going to hug, we're going to do lots of question and answer. So I greatly appreciate you spending the time with us today and look forward to seeing you in person. All right, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Recording stopped. Okay, if I could ask all of you to exit the webinar now, go ahead and leave the webinar. We so greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, and Greg and Shamini, we will talk very soon. So we're going to end the webinar now.